Good morning. Good morning. My name is Scott Abrahamson. I'm from the Adirondacks in New York State. And with me is
Judy Ross, New York State, United States of America.
Yeah. And we just recently completed the Kanchenjunga North and South Base Camp Treks in October and November 2019. And we chose Nepal because we love trekking, and also because it seemed like the more online searching we did about trekking internationally, the more Nepal came up, and it seemed to be just a world-class destination for trekking. So after some research, it really wasn't a hard decision to choose Nepal. And Kanchenjunga, we had looked into a number of other treks in Nepal, mainly the main ones like Annapurna Circuit and Everest Base Camp, and it just seemed like a lot of them were too busy, too many tourists. And we were really looking for a destination that was remote, and since we were going to fly all the way from the United States, we wanted to stay here for a longer period of time, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And the Kanchenjunga trek was 21 days, so that fit our itinerary perfectly. And it just it seemed like it was a wonderful way to encounter the Limbu and the Rai and some of the Sherpa villages, as well as stay out trekking for 3 weeks. And the more research we did, we found out that it wasn't a tourist destination that Everest Base Camp and some of the other treks were. So it seemed to fit our expectations perfectly. And what did we find attractive about Nepal? I mean, why don't you?
Well, the mountains are lovely, of course. We were also in Bardia, which wasn't part of this trek, but that was a beautiful location as well. And even the countryside was really interesting, walking through all the rice fields and millet fields. And we come from an agricultural and a mountainous area in New York as well, so it was interesting to kind of compare how people live at home versus how people live here. And we know Ali Ali Nepali, but got to try out what we knew with some of the local people, and they were all very, lots of namastes on the trail. People were very responsive to that and very nice and friendly. I loved going out in Kanchenjunga. It's like the glaciers just left yesterday, with the kind of barren landscape and the rocks and the sediments and the glaciers, and it's just fascinating, and I really enjoyed that landscape.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal landscape to experience. And one of the questions that I know Ganesh wanted us to answer was why we chose glorious Himalaya. And again, we'd done a lot of online research, pretty much planned the entire trip online. So we had a chance to look into a number of other companies. And there are probably hundreds of trekking companies that you can choose from. Very few of them, comparatively, offer the Kanchenjunga trek. So that narrowed down the scope of the companies considerably. And I believe that I'd contacted probably most of the companies that offered the Kanchenjunga trek. And what made the difference with Glorious Himalaya was that Ganesh got back to us promptly. He responded promptly. He answered the questions that we had, and just seemed to be more attentive to the questions that we had and what we would need on the trek. So it really kind of made the decision a little bit easier after we had interacted with Ganesh for a while. And from then on, the trip was very well planned. It seemed like he anticipated the taxi rides that we would need from Tribhuvan Airport to Hotel Tamil Park, where we're staying. He recommended Hotel Tamil Park, which was a very nice hotel,
Yeah.
and seemed affordable. It's in a fairly quiet neighborhood in Tamil, so it just seemed like the whole trek was very, very well planned. Our trip, our guided trip in Kathmandu was also well done.
Yeah.
I thought we may have wanted to see a little bit more than just the temples and the shrines, but again, it was very well done. And the guide was UR Gale, and UR took very, very good care of us. He from just making sure that we had our meals.
He knows my meals are important to me.
many meals. I mean, we stayed at over 20 tea houses on the trek, so a number of tea houses, and he knew the trail. And
Yes, he knew the trail. Things that weren't on the maps that we had purchased. He knew some shortcuts, a better way to go. So yeah.
and he was very friendly, and we were able to use what little Nepali language skills we had developed, and our porter was phenomenal also. Some guy, Sherpa, was our porter, and we tried not to load him up with too much, but he also did a phenomenal job, and without our porter, we just couldn't have enjoyed our trip as much as we did.
Yeah. Wouldn't have been able to walk as far every day.
Yes. And yeah, we would choose glorious Himalaya again if we decided to come back to Nepal. I believe we'd probably look into.
He really worked. Ganesh really worked around our schedule because, as I said, we added on some other things, and so we shifted the timing of our welcome dinner to match
Oh, yeah.
when we were coming back from elsewhere, and our trip back to the airport, which was 3 days or 4 days after we got back from our trip because we wanted to stay here for a few days. So he worked with our schedule. We didn't have to join a strict group with a strict itinerary.
Very
Scott said
flexible.
we wanted to do, well, we also want to go here, and can we also add on here? And he worked with us to get us the trip that we wanted.
Do some research. Read about the history of Nepal, and read as much as you can about the Limbu and the Rai and the Sherpa and the other ethnic groups if you're choosing the Kanchenjunga trip, and try and learn as much Nepali language skills as you can. It's
People
not
seem to appreciate and laugh when we say it wrong.
when we sit around, they're very kind and helpful, but yes, and Judy mentioned training. The trip was not
Easy.
It was not easy. It wasn't overwhelmingly difficult, but really do some training.